morning. Good morning. Good morning. I do appreciate that this is way too early for most of you. It's just gone 11:30 a.m. my time. So Eastern time, that's going to be like 6:30 in the morning, isn't it? But I decided to do this live because I want to respond to some things that Don Wells has been saying overnight my time. So I was listening to this as I was out walking this morning, and I was cackling, like properly cackling to myself. So I'm glad that I had the feel to myself, or else people would have thought I was mad because I was listening to it in my ears. So here we are, 5 a.m., 5:32 a.m. Oh, wow. So we've got some real early birds in. Real early birds in. So this is the stream that I want to reply to. And this is on Jenkies' Rumour Has It. And I've put the link in the description box already. And I will post the link in the chat also. And I'm playing this under fair use and, you know, all that good stuff. And I'm only playing a portion of what Don said. I want to focus on what he said about the Beech Creek community and various people in the Beech Creek community. He talked about his daughter, his older daughter, who's not well at the moment. He talked about having to go back to Tennessee to do drug tests. He talked about getting arrested. And then he went on, after the Beech Creek stuff, he went on to talk about some other things as well. But I'm only playing you the, 20 minutes or so that he was talking about various people in Beech Creek, including Fred Hill, Chad Arnold, Jody Sue, Marlena Crawford. Oh, he talked about everyone. So I thought it was really interesting, this portion of the interview. I thought it was really interesting. He only came on. It's a very long stream. How long is it? Nearly 5 hours. So he came on around the 4-hour mark, roughly. It is a complete circus. You're absolutely right. It really is a complete circus. All right. So let's say a few hellos before we get going, shall we? I'm going to turn my camera off. I don't need my camera on for this. Okay. Let's have a see who's in the house. Jeannie, number 1. Yes, you are. Yes, you are number 1. Scott's number 2. RZTV, hello, hello, hello. Carol, hello. Blissful Essence, something like that. Pincho. Somewhere else looks different in every photo. The photo that I've got on the thumbnail is one where I think she was quite young. She kind of matures quite a lot in the more recent photos. But yeah, sometimes she does a little bit, I think. D Hicks, Janine, Angie, baby. She does. She totally does. Yeah. Kay, Amy, Nadrian, Scarlett, Psalms 1. Oh, Psalms 91. Amanda, Down Under with Love. 8:30 p.m. in Brisbane. Well, it's good timing for you. I guess when I do these streams that are in the morning in the UK, they're great for those people down under. So, yeah, it's a good time for somebody in the world, just not everybody. But of course, people can just catch this on the replay. Eddie, Beth, Hungry Ghost, Pink Fan. What else have we got? Got quite a few people coming in now. Chandra, Vincent, Stephen, Rocket Queen, Jess, Gina. All right, I'm not gonna go any further. We've got quite a few people in now, which is good. Good. All right. Oh, 3:30. 3:37 a.m. Oh wow. Is it? Are you up really early, or have you not gone to bed yet? Okay, let's start playing this. As well as this, I've got some other things to show you that I'm going to kind of incorporate into what Don says here. There's an interesting thread going on at the moment in my Facebook group about the scent alerts and the potential reasons why some scent might have been tracked in certain places. I haven't checked that thread this morning, but it was getting interesting last night. So I'm going to talk about that as well. Okay, let's get going here. So I've screen recorded this, so it's not playing straight off the Jenkies live stream. I've done that so that I can fiddle with it in StreamYard. I've added it to StreamYard so that I can watch the chat at the same time as I play this and stop it and stuff. So we're going to start. Let me know that you can hear it. Okay. I'm assuming you can all hear me okay, because nobody said you can't. So I'm assuming the audio's all good from kind of me speaking. But just let me know that you can hear this once it starts. And it starts off, they meander from talking about Don getting arrested and going to jail to Fred Hill. That's the segue into the Beech Creekers. So that's where I'm going to start. All right. Let me know that you can hear this all right.
County line and he got you. You would think they would have brought you to the Greene County jail.
I wish they would have. Probably would have been better off.
Maybe. I think it was bullshit that they put you in shoe for that long.
They put me in solitary A block. That's where Fred Hill is. That's where Fred Hill is now. A block. He's probably got my old self. A05.
Dang.
From what I heard, though, he's in there for protection reasons, though, ain't he?
That's what they told me.
I reckon he got pretty. He got a rude awakening when he come in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that story. He probably ripped somebody off. Is what it is.
We probably found somebody in there that he'd already ripped off, and they's like,
Well,
"Hey,
People in there might be mad at him.
So he's referring to this supposed death attempt. Well, an attempt on Fred Hill's life. That's what he's referring to. So in conversation with Ziggy, Fred said that he was asleep on his bed, and someone tried to strangle him with a towel. So they had to revive him. Like he was on his way out of this world. So Don says he's not really sure what he believes, or that he believes it, but perhaps it's somebody in there that Fred has tried to rip off in the past. But he talks a lot more about Fred coming up.
For other things
Exactly.
going on the outside.
Fred Hill used to roam around. I'd get up, like if I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning or something and looking around, he'd be out on somebody's horse with a flashlight, riding around for who knows what reason.
That's weird.
All night long. I caught him one time. I went to talk to him. I talked to him several times because I thought he has to know something. I caught him on other people's property, taking stuff from other people's property.
Oh, that's what he's doing on the horse thing with a flashlight.
Well, he has a golf cart, and he was on a golf cart and taking people's stuff from other people's property. I never said nothing until this point.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Don's up in the middle of the night and he sees Fred riding around on a horse with a flashlight. So how does Don know what he's doing, what Fred's doing? If Don's just up in the middle of the night, unless Don is actually there with Fred how does he know what Fred's doing? I mean, we do know that Fred rides horses, but then going robbing things from people's properties on a golf cart. Do golf carts have 4-wheel drive? How does a golf cart navigate about that difficult terrain? I mean, a horse can, but a golf cart? I mean, this is what I was cackling to myself about when I was in the field. It's like, all right, I can see it on a horse that you're wandering about in the night on a horse, but a golf cart. Oh dear. So how does Don know all this? Is he just assuming, maybe he's seen Fred out and about, or he's heard that Fred goes out and about? But how does he know what Fred's doing unless he's actually there? So I don't know what to tell you with that. I really don't. Exactly. That's my point. That's my point. How would he see what Fred's doing in others' yards from his house? So if Don was just open, I don't know, sitting in his yard, how would he see what Fred was doing? That's Don. It's Fred and Don riding about in a golf cart in the middle of the night. Yeah, they're very quiet, but they're not going to be able to get up like steep driveways and stuff, are they? Like a golf cart. Yeah, his neighbour would watch. Oh, I just thought that was funny. Very funny.
Yeah. Well, hell, I mean, the truth is the truth. And to be honest with you, somebody gets hooked on that meth, and he'll say anything in that daggum jail to say what he's got to say. That's why, you know what? I'm like, I'm taking his word with a grain of salt because I think he's jonesing to get out of there to get drugs.
Of course.
So, I'm like, well, I want an end to this and I want a resolution, but, I want Summer to be okay. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't want him to be lying and just trying to get out of jail, trying to work some kind of deal or something. That ain't cool at all.
He's been lying since day one.
Well, I don't trust him either, though. I don't.
I've been up to his house several times trying to get answers, and he started talking about meth monkeys out in the woods and everything else, steering me off in the wrong direction. I mean, all kinds of wild stories he told me.
Meth monkeys. Well, yeah, Jiggy heard the monkeys, the wild monkeys of the mountains story. Some of the things that he's told Ziggy are really cannot possibly be true. Cannot in any way possibly be true. Like Rose Bly being a prostitute and living at the Wells. Well, she went missing in 2009. Well, Don's mother was still alive. Don's mother only died in 2011. So this had to be when Rose was very young. And Rose was married with 2 kids and lived in Wisconsin, like hundreds of miles away. So it can't possibly be true. The deer bones. Fred would have known that they were not human bones. Nothing will convince me otherwise. That Fred's a country boy. He's been living in the country all his life. He's seen deer bones. He's seen animal bones. He knows that what a deer bone. It's the skull. The skull, the spine, the legs, the length of the leg bones, all very different than human. Especially the skull. Monkey see, monkey do. Oh dear. But in all seriousness, Don does go on in a second to talk about going visiting Fred the night that Summer disappeared and why he went there. Because it seems to be that Fred finds out a lot of stuff. So, being the local meth dealer, and I guess now he's been arrested, there's some level of confirmation there. I mean, he's not convicted yet, but he has admitted it. So, yeah, he comes into contact with a lot of people. So, actually, from Don's perspective, he's actually quite a good person to go and visit to see if he heard anything or knew anything. But having said that, there's some stuff that I think Fred maybe hasn't lied about, like seeing Andy on the afternoon that Summer disappeared. I don't think that's a lie. I think that's a genuine belief that he thinks he saw Andy. But what I think, and this is just my opinion, and I've said this several times now in videos, I think he's misremembering the day, because the 14th, the day before Summer disappeared, Andy was home in the afternoon. So is Fred misremembering? And it's easy to do that. It's easy to think about, oh, yeah, I did see him, but just get the wrong day. So I think there probably is some stuff that Fred has told the truth about, even if it's not quite accurate. I mean, he swears down it was the day Summer disappeared, but as Don goes on to talk about here, Andy did have an alibi for the afternoon of the 15th. He was at work. He really was at work. The TBI have confirmed it. So, yeah.
And
how do we know this is another one? You know, how do we know he's not even making this? You know, dead men tell no tales, right?
Exactly. He's just trying to get notoriety, money on his books. That's all he cares about.
And I thought it was convenient when I found out that old Cotton was dead.
Exactly. He's going to blame it on the dead man. Really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Sometimes people do things.
But why would you blame it? This is the thing that has me really concerned about this new story from Fred Hill. That Roy Cotton Simpson, this guy that nobody had heard about, and apparently the Wells don't know, has now been thrown into the mix. And why has Fred brought up this person, never mentioned him before, spoken to Ziggy lots of times before, and has thrown him into the mix? Why? And it's a peculiar story. So has he simply made it up? Has he made it up as something that will keep Ziggy hanging on, that'll keep Ziggy coming back, will keep Ziggy putting money on his books? And that's what Don seems to think is going on. And that's a possible. That's very possible that this is something that Fred has made up. But it's an unusual story to make up. Now, here's something that I haven't mentioned in a video before, and it's just come to my mind. Somebody mentioned to me a case of a 12-year-old girl. It happened in Kingsport in 1970. And her name was Betty Jean Necessary. Unusual surname, but Betty Jean Necessary. Just let me get a picture of her to show you. Betty Jean Necessary. Okay. Okay, this is Betty Jean. And she was 12 years old. And she was walking home from school. And she was abducted by a guy whose name escapes me. Fred Bowen or Fred Bowden, I think his name was. And I'd never heard of this case before until someone told me about it. Someone told me about it when this story came out about Summer's body being hidden in a cave in Laurel Run Park. And anyway, Betty Jean was she was sexually assaulted, murdered, and buried in a shallow grave in a cave near Kingsport. So I don't know I can't find any newspaper articles that say the actual road or the actual location. We just know that it was Kingsport. And I believe it's the other side of Kingsport than Beech Creek. And I'm wondering whether this story is something that Fred has used. Some of the details are very similar, like being buried in a shallow grave in a cave. Because look, it's an unusual thing. Like, you have to have a good imagination to make this up out of complete thin air. Just make it up outright. It's an unusual thing to make up. All right. But I'm wondering whether Fred knows this case and is using this case for the details. And it was several days. Betty Jean was missing for several days. And then someone found her school books, which had just been scattered about. And then they obviously honed in on the location and found this shallow grave. Or I also wondered if
get the look off the self.
If it wasn't Fred that made it up, but it was Cotton that made it up. And he told Fred, and Fred honestly believes it. No, Cotton was born in 1963, so he would only have been 7 when Betty Jean was murdered. So no, that can't be. But you see where I'm going with this? That if there's a story that everybody knows about in a particular area and has been kind of talked about within families, that you might use elements of that case to make up your own story. So Fred could have made it up based on the details of Betty Jean Necessary's case, or Cotton made it up because Cotton wasn't very well, and he's in the last few months of his life and the last few years of his life had kind of spiraled downwards, and he was taking drugs, he was consuming a lot of alcohol. And maybe he was talking to Fred about this case, about Summer's case, and he's woven in a story that has some details about Betty Jean Necessary's case. I'm only speculating because it's just a really unusual thing to make up, like out of the blue. Just make it up as a complete lie to say that Summer's body's hidden in a cave in Laurel Run Park. It's a weird thing to say, unless it's taking details from a case that actually happened just a long time ago. That's Billie Jean. They've blamed Hunter. Well, they've blamed Ali. Not Hunter. They've blamed Ali. Ali's been thrown in the mix. There's a place called Five Caves near Sensible Tunnel. That tunnel with graffiti on that I don't think were ever searched. It's public land though, isn't it? Isn't it like a national park that, you don't have to get permission to go and look at it? Yeah. Hi, Crackin Cases. Yeah, I know. Is Cotton's backyard backs onto Laurel Run Park. So I've really seriously considered this as being somewhat based in fact. I really have. I really have. And I still can't discount it. But as I said in my video yesterday, I can't. The likelihood of it occurring, the likelihood of it being true is slim, given the other things we know. But at the same time, I just can't discount it. I'm going to talk about the footprints, because that's something that if Cotton Simpson, right, did take Summer, and there's no reason, there's no motivation as why he should have done. Like, there's no evidence that he was into little kids or anything like that, but he wasn't well. And you can go both ways with that. You can say, well, if he wasn't in his right mind, how could he plan to steal a little girl? But on the flip side, you could say he wasn't well and he wasn't in his right mind, and he did steal a little girl. He wasn't in his right mind and he did it. But if the footprints and the scent alerts that we've heard about from neighbours really are Summers, they're in the opposite direction than Cotton Simpson's house and Laurel Run Park. So how can it be that Summers' footprints are out there if they're really Summers? Because they were high up on a ridge, so it's not like it would be an easy place for a little girl to climb up if she got lost. So let's say she'd wandered off and got lost. How would she have got up there on her own? What was Fred arrested for? Meth selling, possession, manufacture of meth. So I don't know. I just wondered whether Betty Jean Necessary's story has been incorporated into this story, either by Fred as a lie or by Cotton as some kind of, I don't know, mentally unwell thinking. Or it could be true. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But it doesn't make sense in relation to some of the things we know about the case. So anyway, let's carry on with this.
You know, blame it on a dead person. That's a good way to go about
Well, I'll
it.
guarantee you the detectives are trying to talk to him, but he keeps talking way out in left field somewhere. And that's why I want to beat his ass so bad. Because he could be the person responsible for Summer's disappearance. Because he got meth heads going in and out of our road day and night, all day long, all night long. And he could be the person responsible for Summer's disappearance. And he wants to sit there and talk crazy. The boy needs his ass beat.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Don, he said that from day one. He said that from day one. And he's never wavered on his opinion of the meth heads going into the hollow. He's never wavered on that. He's always said that that had something to do with Summer's disappearance. Is it true that there was a helicopter flying over the park? That's been said. I can't confirm it's true because I'm 4,000 miles away, but it has been said by some people. I don't know whether it's true, though. People have looked on flight checkers and haven't been able to find the evidence of a helicopter being in that area at that time. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's true or not. I can't confirm it.
He probably gonna get that.
He needs it.
Eventually, he's gonna get that.
He's looking at probably a decade in the pen. So
Yeah,
Well,
he
wants to play games after my daughter's disappearance.
That's what's so bad about it.
Yeah, exactly. When
When
the police was up there at my house, I says, "You're not going to go knock on Fred Hill's door or some of these meth heads around here?" I says, "Then let me the fuck out of the way, and I'll go do it myself." And they says, "Well, we can't stop you, Mr. Wells. You're a free man." I said, "Yeah, that's right." And I went over there and I drove to his house and I about kicked the fucking door in. And he's like, yeah. Well, I seen some meth heads up there on the ridge, blah, 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 and talking all kinds of crazy. Yeah.
That seems off.
Okay, so, right. So Fred said when Don went to see him, and this is the night Summer disappeared, Don was mad and Don wanted the police to go and check all the meth heads. And he's never wavered from that story. I truly believe that Don did this. So Fred said to him, "What about the meth heads on the ridge? There's some meth heads on the ridge." Well, which ridge? Which ridge? Is it the ridge where that camp was, that Cam found? Because which other ridge would it be? That's interesting to me. Meth heads on the ridge, yeah, Curious Kiwi. Now, I've never heard that before. And I've never heard Fred say that. He said that Don went to see him on the night Summer disappeared and was talking about, well, I'll see her in the resurrection. But he's never mentioned, as far as I remember, he's never mentioned, yeah, meth heads on the ridge. So was that camp being used by meth heads? And were they watching the wells? Were they watching not just the wells, but were they watching the entire hollow, people coming and going? Because that ridge is higher than the Wells Hill. That's why you can see their yard. I don't know. I think there's something really troubling about Fred Hill. I'm looking at Fred in a different way now than I ever was. Not that Fred took Summer necessarily, just that Fred knows a lot more. And he's telling these ridiculous stories to Ziggy, who's listening to him. And there's a truth in there somewhere that Fred knows. And Fred's just deflecting and just confusing matters. Hiking methods. Well, yeah, people wander about when they hide, don't they? The blind was with the camp. So there was like a blind and then evidence that there'd been a camp there, like there's some chairs and stuff. And you can look out towards the wells and you can see right into their yard, because where that ridge, the height of that ridge, and all you need to do is go to Google Earth and look at the altitude of that ridge. So it runs all along kind of the backside of Simpson Road. And it runs across Mary Sexton's property and then out towards Beech Creek Road, and it's higher. That ridge is higher than the Wells Hill. So you're looking down from that camp, you're looking down. I don't know. I think there's something in this that really could be the truth, and Fred is misleading, is being misleading on purpose. And I think maybe Don was onto Fred early on. Because Don has never wavered in this. Could the methods be the three guys that were seen driving the HHR parked across from the shed, the lower part of the property on Beech Creek? Were those the guys who were also up on the ridge? Who knows? Who knows? There is... I don't know. It's all a diversion. Yeah, but who's doing the diverting? Who's doing the diverting? Because Don has never wavered on this. Don's blamed a whole bunch of people. But whenever Fred Hill's mentioned, Don always says the same thing about the methods that were coming into that holler to see Fred. And Fred knows full well who those people were. Fred knows full well who he was selling to. So I think Fred knows a whole bunch more than what he said. And I think that's why law enforcement have been so interested in him. And how do we know that's not the reason why he's been arrested now? Don's never done meth. Don doesn't do meth. Don does coke. Don's not into meth. Candice used to be in her younger days, but Don's choice of drug is coke. Wouldn't it just? That's what I want to talk about in a few minutes. That's exactly where I'm going with this conversation. Yes. Okay.
Suspicious to me.
Cannot get a straight answer out of him for nothing. And here he is playing games again on Ziggy's Live and everything else. Cannot get a straight answer out of him.
I watched that because I was trying to watch his body language and to see how he was acting. And I noticed he'd start getting anxious and he'd start rocking. That's a self-soothing mechanism. And if you study people's body, yes, when people start rocking, that's a self-soothing mechanism when they're nervous or lying, possibly. So
you know what? I can get a hold of the behavior panel and ask them what they think about it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Ask him to watch that. Yeah. Another thing is he kept fluttering his eyes, like he'd flutter his eyes real fast. Like I studied psychology in college, and I'm telling you, like, so watch that rocking. That's a self-soothing thing people do when they're guilty. That Shanann Watson's husband, he did that same thing whenever he was being interviewed on TV. He was rocking.
Now that is true. Now let me just clarify this by saying that I'm not a behavior, a body language expert, right? Not like the behavior panel. I wish that Fred's whole face and upper body had been in that shot. Like you could only basically see half of his face, because I would have liked the behavior panel to have a look at Fred's demeanor. But you just can't see very much of him. But the person speaking, I don't know who's speaking actually, but the person speaking, that when you are self-soothing, one of the things you do is rock, like either swaying from side to side or backwards and forwards. And that is a self-soothing mechanism. That is true. Kind of, it comes from our, deep down in our subconscious, because when you're a baby, you rock to sleep. So it's self-soothing. I find myself doing it when I'm agitated or excited. I move my body in a rocking motion. But what I do want to clarify is that the behavior panel are very, very careful to not take any one behavior in isolation. And they say that you've got to get the baseline first. And a lot of these body language experts, or so-called experts, don't do that. They just look at a particular behavior, and because they don't have the baseline, when somebody's being deceptive, it's what you're looking for is deviations in their baseline. So if Fred is naturally quite a nervous person, or he's got ADHD and he's moving all the time, potentially, like some people with ADHD just can't sit still. Like they move their hands all the time, they're tapping their feet all the time, you know, rapid eye movements might be like a slight tic. So unless you know his baseline, these things don't necessarily mean that he's being deceptive or that he's lying. We'd have to know his baseline first. We've also got to remember that he's sober for the first time in probably ages. So we've just got a, like, I'm a bit hyperactive. Like I move my hands all the time. Like even when I'm relaxing, some part of my body is always moving. and it just, the movements get kind of bigger or stronger when I'm talking. Like I'm moving my hands right now. And I know you can't see me, but I'm moving my hands right now talking to you. So these are good observations, but we have to know the baseline first. So really, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because Greg and Scott from the behaviour panel said that they don't think Don is being deceptive. They believe Don. But they think that Candice knows more. Candice is holding some things back. So, I don't know. A lot of people don't agree. I didn't agree at first. And it's only as time's gone by. And, you know, if you take away this nonsense that Don does when he's really drunk, and all the bad mouthing people he does and the N words, when he's talking like this, there's a lot of consistency. Don is consistent with this insistence that the meth heads who've been brought into the hollow by Fred Hill have something to do with Summer's disappearance. So I think if the police are questioning Fred Hill, it's for that reason. Oh, everybody's lied. Everybody's lied. Everybody's lied. But on this particular issue, Don has been 100% consistent. So,
and
wow.
that is to try to like calm yourself down. It's subconscious. You don't even realize you're doing it.
Right, exactly.
It's like rocking your foot, tapping your foot, or sitting there jittering your knee.
You notice little kids or something. You know, if
I will call Greg and ask him what he thinks, and I will definitely get back with you all on that for sure.
Yeah. You need
I will
to.
definitely
Brittany's
do
right.
that.
He is also detoxing at this time when he was
Exactly.
there rattling off. So
he's an everyday user. He shoots that crap in his arm.
Yeah, and
so he's probably been sick for the last week. Yeah, for
I
the last 2 weeks.
I felt sorry for him, and I give him a black truck. I says, you haul that stuff off, whatever, because I didn't want to clutter up my driveway. He hauled that crap off. I says, the motor's good. It's a brand new motor, board 30,000 over. You know, and all he needed to do was put a harmonic balancer in it. But he hauled it straight to the junkyard for meth. I think it was, oh man, I don't know.
See, that's the thing. And you know, that affects your brain. So, you know, he's not going to be thinking straight in his head for a little while.
That's right.
And honestly, the best place he could be is jail. Because
absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that.
I mean, you know,
that's right.
Yeah, and that might be the reason why he's in jail right now, because the cops need him there. I mean, look at what they did to Jim Brenner in the Dylan Rounds case. Like, they knew Jim once the FBI got involved. I mean, the county law enforcement, Box Elder County law enforcement, were terrible. Were absolutely terrible. But once the FBI got involved, that case moved very quickly. And Jim Brenner was arrested. They knew full well Jim Brenner had some responsibility. And they've got the evidence. They've got the evidence now. And they've arrested Jim Brenner for the murder of Dylan Rounds, and there's nobody. It's a nobody homicide case, but they took Jim in on a pre-existing warrant and kept him there while the investigation was going on. They did the same with Adam Montgomery. Got him on something small whilst they were putting their case together. And look at what has come out about what the police knew about Harmony Montgomery's murder. I mean, I did a live about it last week when the documents came out. The police knew that all of this was going on. They just needed time to put the case together. And they kept him in jail. Now, again, I'm not saying that it's Fred Hill that's responsible for the disappearance of Summer Wells, but it's very, very interesting timing. Very interesting timing. Thinking about what Sheriff Ronnie Lawson said in an email that WJHL released. Or was it News Nation? Anyway, it was one of the news channels emailed the sheriff's office for an interview, and they declined an interview, but they said that they hope to have an update in the near future. So I think that's very promising. And it's very interesting timing that just a few days after that, Fred Hill was arrested on two things that happened. One happened in 2021 and one happened in 2022. Why only arrest him now? I just think it's really interesting. Peter Hyatt has, I think he has. I think he has. Could someone be stuck in a tree? Not for 2 years, no. Because sadly, once she died, the body would fall down. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, I thought he had. That was a long time ago. This is Jenkies Rumour Has It. The link is in the description box. And I'll put the link again in the chat. This happened overnight my time. So this is brand new. Yeah, all the vehicles were checked. Yeah, all the vehicles were checked. All of them. Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. The location in relation to Cotton Simpson's house is interesting. That Cotton Simpson's house backs onto Laurel Run Park. Like, you don't have to go via any road to get into Laurel Run Park from his house. But I just can't believe Fred. He's told too many lies.
Keep off that crap for his head to get right, and maybe he might have an answer to something, and then they can give him a lie detector test, and then maybe they'll get somewhere.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was a lot of traffic coming in and out of our hauler because of Fred Hill. He needs to own up to this shit. That fucking asshole needs to own up that he's the fucking reason that all that traffic was coming in and out of our hauler. And I want to beat his ass so bad and make him realize this.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And another thing is him having that horse, and I was wondering, like, if somebody, if they could have lured Summer to the road with a horse or with an animal, because the dog, they trace her footprints and her smell.
Well,
her scent
I'll promise you that Summer would never leave our property, but there's the possibility that someone could have lured her, like you just said.
As a little kid, it's 5 years old.
Right,
You don't know.
right.
I mean,
That's
people love
right.
something that they love, like a horse or a puppy or
That's
a kitty.
right.
You don't know.
Yes, that's right. That's a possibility. I don't think she would ever leave from around our house unless she was lured, like you said.
Because have you ever watched them shows that they do? Because they'll
Yeah.
get parents stand up and they'll go,
Yeah.
"You think your kid wouldn't talk to a stranger?" And every
That's
one of
right.
them, every time they do it, it's
Absolutely.
because, people like that,
Yep.
they're so manipulative. They know what they're doing and they plan it ahead of time.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Yes,
And they
ma'am.
sit and wait and watch. And I said from the beginning, I said it's got to be somebody close by there.
Yep.
I think because they're sitting watching and
Yep.
waiting for the right second, just the right second.
I agree. But there's one thing we got to stick with. There are two things we got to stick with. The boys are the last one that seen her go down in the basement. And
Yeah.
number two, the dogs, the police dogs, followed her scent, not down the driveway, but down the dog trail, and the dead ended on the road.
Okay.
That's what.
Okay, so those are the two things that law enforcement have said. However, the boys told Sheriff Ronnie Lawson the last time they saw Summer was going out of the back door, going out of the basement door. That was said to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson when he was there on the night Summer disappeared. That's what the boys told him. Now, Jody Sue said that the last time she asked the boys where they last saw Summer, and they said on the swing set. Now, I've talked about this in videos. The swing, Summer swing, to me, it's not a swing set. It's a rope swing, but it's not a swing set. But the boys told, now, obviously do we want to believe Jody Sue on that? I don't know. You make your own mind up if you want to believe Jody Sue on that. But that's what she said, that the boys had told her. But I think we can believe what the boys said to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. It came out in the news just the day after, on the 16th of June. And it was at the time when it was being said that Summer was last seen walking away from her home. That's what was said right in the early days. Because the boys told Sheriff Ronnie Lawson that they last saw Summer going out of the basement door. However, the boys could not have been sitting at the table playing video games if they saw Summer going out of the basement door. Now, could they have been sitting playing video games and not seen her but heard the door? Could they have heard the door? Like heard the door shut or opened? Was it a creaky door? So even though they didn't physically see her, they knew she'd gone outside. But if they told Sheriff Ronnie Lawson that they saw her going out of the basement door, they could not have been sat at the kitchen table. It's a physical impossibility. Because the basement door is on a different level of the house. The basement door is the basement. The kitchen table is on the upper level. Like it's ground level at the front of the house. So it can't be. It can't be that the boys were sat at the kitchen table. They had to be outside. They had to be either in the basement to see Summer going out of the basement door, or they had to be outside. So when Don maintains this story about the boys sitting playing video games or watching Minecraft, and Summer went to play in the basement, there's an extra bit to that Don isn't saying, that Sheriff Ronnie Lawson has communicated to the news. So there's that. However, we've also got to consider the fact that Summer's scent was tracked down a trail. Now, Don insists that it's the dog trail. Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, when he talked about it, he didn't specify a trail. He just said that her scent had been tracked off the property. Dave Rader said the driveway. But to me, it doesn't really matter which trail it was. Just the fact that her scent was tracked down to Ben Hill Road is the important thing, in my opinion. Yeah, Don's probation officer recalled him back to Tennessee to do a drug test. And he's also having to go back to Tennessee now. And Candice is staying in Arkansas because she's looking after Don's elder daughter who's not well. That's what Don said in this stream. So before he started talking about the Beech Creekers, he was talking about his elder daughter. Yeah, I think something like that happened. I think Summer was gone a lot longer than Candice has said. And she was either asleep or she was doing things in the house or whatever. She was just gone a lot longer. And that's the thing that Candice is covering up. That she was gone, like in the dispatch call, they said she'd been missing 10 minutes, which puts her going missing after 6. And that's not true. I cannot get my head around somebody going missing and not being found if they've only been missing for 10 minutes. Because I don't believe that a stranger just wandered up and stole her out of the yard. Oh, really? Really? He has to be back there permanently. Oh, wow. Okay, so, but Candice is staying in Arkansas, looking after Don's elder daughter for at least the time being. Because something about she's got a bone infection and she has to have infusions. And she's got a couple of kids. So presumably Candice is going to help her look after the kids whilst she's having this medical treatment. That's what I took from this conversation. Yeah, I think she'd been missing maybe for a couple of hours. And that's why, because the other thing I can't get my head around is the timeline. I can't get my head around if she'd already been missing 10 minutes, let's say she'd been missing since, let's say, 6 o'clock. Well, what had they been doing all that time? Because planting a few cacti into some pots and putting some stones around it doesn't take longer than 10, 15 minutes maximum. So what were they doing in the rest of that time? Even if that happened, even if that planting the flowers happened, what were they doing for the rest of the time? And I think it's that Candice wasn't paying attention. She was asleep. She was doing something else. She may have even left the property and left the boys looking after Summer. And Summer was missing for maybe hours, maybe 2 hours. That's what I've always thought. And that's why there's a discrepancy in the timeline that none of us can quite get our head round. And why law enforcement told us she had to sort the timeline out. Because they know full well that she's not telling the truth. And maybe it's as simple as she's not telling the truth because she knows that she'd be considered neglectful if she did not know the whereabouts of her 5-year-old daughter for a couple of hours. Or she left the property for whatever reason and left the boys looking after Summer. And Grandma was asleep. Grandma's nap really confirmed it for me. That things happened that we don't know about. Do I think the scream is real? I've gone backwards and forwards on the scream. When I'm in the mindset that I believe Jodie Sue, which is sometimes, I think she heard something. Yeah, I think she heard something. Whether it was Summer screaming, I have no way of knowing. I don't know. And it may be something that we'll never know. Don't believe there was a scream. I mean, in the Nicola Bully case at the inquest, which happened a couple of days ago, 2 women in the village, it's only a very small village, heard a scream. 2 women reported in different parts. Like Nicola fell in a river, and one of the women lived probably only a few hundred yards as the crow flies north of that place where Nicola fell in. And then another woman heard the same scream, and she was maybe a few hundred yards south of that location as the crow flies. They both heard a scream, but they discounted it as being in relation to Nicola because it was heard about 9:45, and the chances are Nicola was already dead by then. But it was something that was considered at the inquest by the coroner, that these women in this quiet, very quiet area in 2 different locations heard a scream. But it's been attributed to something else. Could be a kid playing, it could have been anything. But it wasn't Nicola Bully. So in relation to Summer Wells, it could easily be that Jodie Sue, in the location she was at, heard something. Was it Summer, though? I don't know. But I don't think it should be something that law enforcement completely dismiss. I really don't. The fact that Sheriff Ronnie Lawson says it's unfounded, I think sounds very dismissive. Just because nobody else heard it doesn't mean to say it didn't happen. I mean, look at the Toyota Tacoma, right? That's been publicized by law enforcement. It's still there on their website as, you know, they want to trace the driver, but only one person saw it. No one else did. So why didn't they consider that as being an unfounded claim? Because no one else saw it except one person. So why is that relevant to law enforcement? But yet a scream that could be Summer isn't. I don't know. Anyway, in relation to Summer's scent being tracked down onto the road, Sheriff Ronnie Lawson is right in saying that sometimes dogs lose a scent when the surface changes. So the ground, like the physical ground, like mud, grass, woodland, holds scent longer than an artificial surface like concrete does, or tarmac, or whatever, stones, right? Because that scent's held in the ground. It's because of the moisture. Whereas it dissipates faster when it's a concrete or an artificial surface. That is absolutely true. He's correct on that. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone was put in a vehicle on Ben Hill Road or put on a horse or carried. It doesn't necessarily mean that, because there still might be scent there. But because the scent has gone from a strong scent to a weak scent, because the scent's dissipating quicker on that artificial surface, the dog gets confused, because the dog's natural scenting ability is to follow a track that's the strongest scent in that area for the person that the location person, their target person. But a dog's natural scenting ability, the track they follow, the scent gets stronger. Now, when the scent suddenly gets weaker, the dog gets confused. So it could well be that Summer walked away down Ben Hill Road and the dog stopped and couldn't trace her any further, not because the scent wasn't there, but because the scent had got weaker and it confused the dog. Now, I want to remind you all of this whilst we're talking about scent alerts. So this is just a screenshot from my Google Earth. And my Google Earth that I've got all this tracked on, all the pins in, is on my other computer, which is currently broken. And I don't know how to transport all my pins into Google Earth. I don't know how to do it to get it on another computer. Anyway, so I'm glad I had this screenshot. So these are potential scents. Now, Jody Sue's cabin wasn't a scent. All right, let's just be really clear. I've just put that in there as just a location marker, like Jody Sue's cabin. So we've got a scent going down the dog trail, potentially. All right. But where are the other scents? Now, the two markers that say footprints and then the one that says scent alert, they are just general locations, right? They're not absolute. That's exactly where it was, because I don't know exactly where it was. I've just dropped those pins close to where I think they were. I know what properties they were on, but I don't know exactly where they were on those properties. So don't take those pins as absolute gospel that those were the exact locations. Those are just general areas, right? So the footprints that were closest to the road, they were on Mr. Phillips' property, and his address is on Beech Creek Road. But his property goes back, like the woodland goes back, and it joins with the kind of properties on Simpson Road. So you can see Simpson Road there. And those footprints are high up on a ridge. So it's the same ridge that is where the camp is, but the camp is on the opposite side. So I can't, because it's a screenshot, I can't give you a marker, but the camp is, so where the scent alert is, the right hand scent alert, the camp is on the ridge, kind of a little bit to the left of that, a little bit to the left and up. That's roughly where the camp was. So the footprints are on this ridge that runs all along the back end of Simpson Road. So the prints that were found on Mr. Phillips' property were found on June the 19th. So that was the Saturday. So 4 days after Summer disappeared. And Mr. Phillips wrote on social media all about them. And people took screenshots. I've got all the screenshots that were collected at that time. And a dog alerted in his woods. And Mr. Phillips asked the deputy, does that mean that's Summer scent? And he said yes. And then they did a whole night. They were out, and somebody filmed them from Beech Creek Road. I've got the video on my channel somewhere of them out like literally combing that that land all through that night into the early hours of the Sunday morning, because they truly believed that Summer was there. They truly believed she was there because of these footprints. Now, Dave Rader from EquiSearch got into town to help with the search on that Saturday night. So he was told about this on the Sunday morning. When he joined the search on the Sunday morning, he was told about this. And he said that law enforcement, and I've got this on my channel as well, this was on Police Off the Cuff. So he may have also told you you're on the same story, but I know I got it from Police Off the Cuff. That the theory that law enforcement had was that someone had abducted her and dropped her back off in the woods. Now, for me, that's a very, it's a horrifying thought, but that's what law enforcement believe, because what they did, and Dave Rader was part of this search, they used the location where they thought she'd been dropped off, so that would have presumably have been around the location of the footprints, and they tracked back to the house. So they went from the location of concern, which would have been the footprints, and tracked back in a grid-like pattern to the house and didn't find anything. But they really believe their working theory at that time was that someone had abducted her and had dropped her back off in the woods. You know, like they got scared. They realized that they were going to be in big trouble, and they dropped her back off. So they didn't find her. So was that a theory that proved to be incorrect? Or had Summer wandered off in a different direction? That maybe somebody did drop her back off in the woods, but Summer didn't know her way home and she wandered in a different direction. That's a possibility, and that is a horrifying thought. Or it could be that nobody dropped her back off and the footprints were several days old and were there because someone abducted her and took her up onto that ridge and then away to wherever they took her. But this is in the completely opposite direction than Laurel Run Park. Laurel Run Park is 5 miles north of this place. The footprints go away, go in the opposite direction. So if it was Cotton Simpson that abducted her, why would Cotton Simpson walk her all over the woodland at the back of Simpson Road and then take her to Laurel Run Park? Why not just take her to Laurel Run Park to begin with? Why risk somebody seeing her walking her all about the woods? Doesn't make sense. That's a good question. It depends. It depends on the largely on the environment, to be honest. If the scent is on mud or grass where there's moisture, what the dog's actually detecting largely is skin cells. Like the scent that comes off the body is largely skin cells. And that scent drops onto the ground and lays there, and it can be detectable for maybe a good dog maybe could still detect the scent a week later. A really good dog. But certainly 4 or 5 days, definitely on mud and where there's moisture, because it holds that scent in. Now, on an artificial surface like a road, that scent is probably only going to be strong for a few hours. It's still detectable, but it's only weak. And what concerns me about the dogs tracking Summer's scent from her property is that Summer's scent is all over that property because she lives there. So what a dog will do in that instance is find the strongest scent. That's usually the most recent scent, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It can be a scent down a trail that's just well traveled. So there's kind of a build-up, if you will. So if Summer ran backwards and forwards up and down that dog trail, maybe playing with her brothers, or she ran up and down the driveway, or ran up and down that bus trail, which is I'm going to talk about because that's very, very intriguing to me. Then if she constantly ran up and down it, that was her playground, her scent's going to be strong in that area and a dog might follow it. Not necessarily because she was abducted from that location, but because that was her playground. You see, the thing is, with dogs, they can give us an indication, but they can't talk, and we can't talk to them. So we can't say to that dog that tracked Summer's scent down that trail, we can't say, why have you stopped? And the dog can't say back to us, well, I'm a bit confused because this was a really strong scent and then it just went really weak. So that leads me to believe that the person is no longer there. And then we can't say to that dog, well, is it still there though? And the dog says, yeah, but it's a lot weaker. And the human says, well, maybe that's because this is an artificial surface. And the dog says, oh, yeah, that could be true. That could be right. And then the human says, well, maybe just track it for a bit longer. Even though it's weak, just track it for a bit longer and just give us a general direction. And the dog says, oh, okay, then I will. That can't happen because we can't communicate with dogs. In English, we can communicate with dogs in their own language. We can understand them to an extent. We know when a dog's upset, when a dog's angry, when a dog's confused, when a dog's scared. But we can't have a conversation with a dog. So therefore, we can only assume what that dog's thinking. And there's another scent alert as well, which if Cam's still in here, I got this from Cam. Oh, I'll talk about the second set of footprints. Then another set of footprints was found on Mary Gold's land. So that's the footprints that's right in the kind of bottom middle of your screen. That's on Mary Gold's land. And we know that that is true as well because Mary's daughter had a conversation with Mr. Phillips, which was screenshot, which I've got the screenshots of. I've got them actually in a file on this computer, but it probably took me about 10 minutes to find them. But Christy Mork and Josh Phillips had a conversation about the footprints. We know they happened. We know they were there. Yes. In the first few days, when they believe Summer was alive and was missing, then they are using live scent tracking dogs. They're using dogs that take a scent. So in this instance, Summer's scent taken from a shoe or a sock. And that dog follows that scent. But cadaver dogs have been used. There's been several teams of cadaver dogs I've got pictures from the November search, and I've got pictures from the search they did in February 2022, and there were dogs with them. They were cadaver dogs. There was cadaver dogs used in the early days. Cadaver dogs were taken back out in November, and they were taken back out in February. There's been numerous teams of cadaver dogs. So I've heard recently that some people are saying that law enforcement failed because they never took cadaver dogs out. That is categorically untrue. 100% untrue. The pictures to prove it. Okay. All right. So there's 2 sets of footprints. And then I got this from Cam from Crackin Cases. There was a scent alert near, and I don't know exactly where, but it was near the creek that runs parallel with Ben Hill Road. So you can see that pin that says scent alert. It was around there. And I don't know whose land that is. That might be the Gourley's land. I'm not sure whose land that is. I'll have to check the property lines map thing. To me, it doesn't really matter whose land it was. It's just scent alert in that location. There's also another scent alert that's not on this map that Fred Hill talked about. And Fred Hill's property is just cut off on this screenshot. But where that pin scent alert is, to the right, so going east, is Ben Hill Road. And then the opposite side of Ben Hill Road to that scent alert is Fred's property. And Fred's family own 165 and 167. They're next door to each other. And Fred told Ziggy that a dog alerted on his land. That's what Fred told Ziggy. So we've actually got 4 scent alerts. 4 scent alerts. I have, yes. 4 scent alerts. All in like pretty much a line. So we've got a scent alert according to Fred Hill on his land. And then Ziggy's interview was audio only, so I can't exactly say where Fred was pointing to Ziggy. But he said, and there was another one over there. So I assume what Fred was pointing to from his land was the scent alert that was at the opposite side of the road that is here on this map as my pin near the creek. And then we've got scent alerts with the 2 sets of footprints that are further west. Now there may be more. You see, these are the scent alerts that we've heard about because neighbours have come out and said that something was found on their land. What we don't know is were there other scent alerts that law enforcement know about that weren't witnessed by anybody, or they were witnessed by a neighbour whose land it was on, whose land the alert was on, but they've just never spoken to anyone. Yes, they can. Yes. Now, I'll caveat that by saying that if 2 siblings wear the same clothes and wear the same shoes, and then a dog is given that scent article to work from, what that dog is actually scenting is an amalgamation of 2 people's scent. So it's actually then going out to find that amalgamated scent. But if you have a dog that is given an item of clothing from one person and only that one person has worn it, then that dog is going to focus on that scent alone. It's not going to focus on a sibling scent or the father's scent, because those scents are different. Okay, we'll go back to this. So I'm just intrigued. It's very compelling. Those scent alerts are very compelling because they've been said by different people at different times. Law enforcement have never confirmed them, though. And I wonder whether that's not because they didn't happen, but because they're a key piece of investigative evidence. That's where they focus their investigation. Well, I know all the nooks and crannies around my area because I've been walking these fields for 50 odd years. So that's not true for me. Yeah, they can. They can. Dogs can detect cancer. There's dogs that have been trained to alert to cancer. It's scary how much a dog knows. Scary. Family tree, yes. I did answer, and I said yes, I have. I'm sorry if I am missing some questions, but I'm trying. Once I start talking, though, I do get a bit carried away, and I'm watching the chat, but I'm kind of like not focusing. There you go. Dogs, yeah, that's true. That's true. Dogs can dogs know when you're pregnant as well. And it's the changes in your hormones. That's what they're sensing. I want to show you this. Whilst we're talking about scent alerts, and this is another thing that's intriguing that I've always wondered about. So this is about the bus trail. Now, this is from Crackin Cases. I'll put a link to this in the chat. I don't think I've put it in the description box, but I will after this stream. This is Crackin Cases. If Cam's still in here, this is really, really, really interesting to me, because the bus trail is, if somebody was going to abduct Summer, right? If somebody really was watching the property, this is the trail I believe will be more likely used than the dog trail, because it's easier to hide behind that bus and to lure a child away, because the hill's a lot shallower. Like the dog trail's quite steep, but this hill along here is a lot shallower, easier to walk down and easier to hide. And what's behind this bus? And Don talks about it in this interview. What's behind this bus? There's a play set. there's some monkey bars. So I'm going to play this. I just want to show you. The monkey bars, which are right behind this bus. And could this be what the boys called the swing set? Not that a swing is attached to them. But let me just find the monkey bars area. Because you just see it. There. It's like a set of monkey bars. Now, could the boys call this a swing set? Was there a swing attached to it at some point in the past? Either a swing attached with the set or a swing that they attached themselves. And could it be that Summer had gone playing here and it would be so easy to take a child from that location because you would not be seen. You wouldn't have to come into the yard at all. And you will be away very, very quickly. It's just a possibility. Look, the monkey bars. And then the hill is a lot shallower. So you go past this red van thing. And then you're only maybe a few yards before you can see so you can't be seen at all from the yard. Any location on the yard, you just couldn't be seen. And then it's a very easy track. There's no like difficult rocks or anything. And the look, that's the driveway right there. That's the driveway. It's just a few yards. So if somebody was watching the house and either parked their vehicle here at the kind of midway on the driveway or at the bottom of the driveway, they could lure Summer away, no problem whatsoever. Now, a complete stranger doing that, no, it would have to be somebody who knows that property, who knows that Summer lives there. But that trail is much more convincing to me than the dog trail. Would the monkey bars attract the monkeys? Yeah, the Ben Hill meth monkeys. Yeah, it would. It would. I just find it interesting. I find it interesting. And I would like to know if the dog did really track Summer down the dog trail or they tracked her down this trail. So when there's been some confusion about the driveway and about the trail, could it be that kind of both are true? Because this is a trail that goes from the yard, from behind the bus, onto the driveway. I don't know. All right, let's go back to this interview.
To go with.
They're still right by the road.
So I think he's still talking about Fred at this point.
Right. Which means he was thrown in a vehicle. And Fred Hill was leaving out that time, hauling some scrap metal off at that time.
Oh, yeah, I heard that on the.
Did he have a red truck?
No, he doesn't. He has a yellow Nissan.
What about the cotton?
I have no idea. On that.
Right, look. In the last few days, when I've been side-eyeing Fred Hill a lot more than I've ever done, isn't it interesting that he was hauling off scrap metal at the very time Summer disappeared? Isn't it interesting that he was there on Ben Hill Road all day, until the very time that Summer disappeared. And then by the time he came back, and apparently he went shopping, he went to the store. By the time he came back 3 hours later, the hollow was locked down. The whole area was locked down. Isn't that just an interesting coincidence? I don't know. Interesting coincidence. But he doesn't have a red truck. Now, Cotton Simpson. If you look at the most recent Google Earth view of Cotton Simpson's house, you can see a red truck. But that's from 2019. So is that the red or maroon Toyota Tacoma with ladder axe? No, probably not. But people are talking about, and I'm just going to get it up here. 19. All right, hold on. I'll have to share that with you. I'll have to share my entire screen for this. Oh, stop being stupid. The browser cannot access your screen. Yes, you can. Oh, you're just being annoying. You're just being really annoying. It was doing this the other day, and I thought I'd sorted it. Hold on. I know how to deal with this. I thought I'd sorted it. Hold on. Privacy. Where's privacy? Oh, I've got to restart my computer to do it. Oh, bummer. All right, I can't do it that way. I'll do it on Google Maps. I don't know whether you can actually see it on Google Maps though. But you can definitely see it on Google Earth. No, you can't see it on Google Maps. Just a minute, I'll just share this with you. But on Google Earth, the most recent whatever it is, image capture is 2019. And there's a red truck. Where that white truck is, there was a red truck. Does it look like a Toyota Tacoma? I don't know. I don't think so. But this is the most recent street view, and this is actually from 2012. So we do know that there was a red truck associated with this house, with this property, in 2019. That's not convincing enough for me personally. Because you can't go down to Street View and see it to confirm the make and the model. Because when you go down to Street View, it time travels you back in time to 2012. You can only see it from the overhead. And you can only see it on Google Earth when you go to the most recent image capture. So I'm not convinced that Cotton Simpson had a red Toyota Tacoma. I'm not convinced. But that's where the conversation is going. I've heard the conversation. I've seen the conversation. So that's just my view on it. All right, let's go back to this interview now.
I don't know. I just don't know.
Did you know Cotton?
No, I don't. The only people that I know is the people I worked with all them years, Tucker Drywall, and all of them pretty much disowned me after this happened.
Man, I'm sorry about that. That sucks.
Oh, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. That's their weakness.
No, you can't. No, because the Google image capture is coming from the sky, so you can't get into caves. So the Google car that does the street view doesn't even go down Ben Hill Road. So you can't go to Laurel Run Park on Google Street View and go into caves. No, it's only where the Google car has been. So no, you can't, unfortunately. And even then, it might be years and years old. I mean, the most recent street view on Mountain View Road, where Cotton Simpson lives, is 2012. The most recent street view on Beech Creek Road is 2013. And like I said before, how do we know that the red truck has got anything to do with the case whatsoever? Because only one person saw it. And they can't even confirm that they saw it on the day Summer disappeared. Please show the park. What, Laurel Run Park? Okay. Hold on a minute. Add to stream. Which one? Hold on. If I take that. No, I don't want to remove that. Here we go. All right. So that's Cotton Simpson's house. That right here is Laurel Run Park. So Cotton Simpson's house, Laurel Run Park, right there. He can literally go out of his backyard and go into Laurel Run Park, right there. And then his family own a property on Sandy Road. I don't remember which number it is. So look guys, that's Laurel Run Park. That whole expanse there is Laurel Run Park, right behind Cotton Simpson's house. So when Fred is talking about her body being in Laurel Run Park, it makes sense when you consider where Cotton Simpson's house is. But like I said, if Cotton Simpson was the one to have abducted Summer and then went and hid her body in Laurel Run Park, why have we got all these scent alerts all over the place in 5 miles away? Because if we do the direction, 110 Ben Hill Road, look, completely opposite direction. Oops, gone wrong. Completely opposite direction, 5 miles away. All right, so this is 110 Ben Hill Road. This is Simpson Road. The scent alerts and the footprints are along here. The camp was around here somewhere. All right. And then we've got 5 miles in the other direction. You have to go you have to go east and then north. And then you've got another 5 miles in the opposite direction. And then you've got to get her body into Laurel Run Park. So why would Cotton Simpson walk her all around this area and then take her body all the way up here? Why not just take her there to begin with? So probably the most convincing evidence we have, the scent alerts and the footprints, don't tally with the version of events that Fred Hill is talking about. They don't match up. So I don't know. But there's kind of several waterfalls. Like the one that everybody is talking about is that waterfall that Don B filmed. But this park is huge. It's like, I don't know, 400 acres. And most of it you probably wouldn't, you know, tourists probably wouldn't go to, or kids probably wouldn't go to, you know, like they'd probably just go nearer the parking area and walk maybe some of the trails. But somebody like Cotton Simpson, who lives there, literally lives there on the doorstep, might know places in this park that nobody goes to. So the story itself makes sense, but it doesn't fit the version of events that, in my opinion, is the most convincing. So I like I said, I don't know what to think. And yeah, absolutely. Why mention Cotton now? Why now? Was his death definitely natural? Apparently so. According to his family members, and there's several people now who've spoken, you know, offline with family members of Cotton. And one of his, I think it was his son-in-law. So it used to be his son-in-law. Commented on one of my videos and said that Cotton, he was kind of getting lost. Like, he wasn't really with it. He was getting lost and stuff. And then he died by falling off a cliff, and it was an accident. Like, because he wasn't in his right mind anymore. Whether he was developing dementia, maybe, or whether he was a little bit young for dementia. He's only like 59, but alcohol abuse, drug abuse over years, maybe. Maybe he had some kind of drug-induced psychosis coming on. Maybe some early dementia. So apparently, yes, apparently it was an accident that he fell. He fell down a cliff. And there's a bunch of cliffs in Laurel Run Park. So I don't know whether he actually died in Laurel Run Park. I don't know. But it was an accident, according to his family.
It is.
That's their weakness.
But you stick beside people when they're going through hard times. Don't kick them.
That's all right. I got good people I'm by my side right now. I got jobs as soon as I get back. I don't need trucker drywall. I wish they would hire me back. I've stuck by their side, you know, through the whole thing.
Man, people ought to be loyal if somebody's loyal to them, you know.
Right. I mean, I worked for them for 13 years straight, 7 days a week.
Now that dog trail.
Yeah.
That goes. Well, he's going to talk about dog trail in a minute. Which cliff was it? I don't know. I don't know which cliff it was. I mean, that the whole area is full of cliffs and ridges, ravines. He did fall, yeah. He did fall. Falling off a cliff is not natural. Well, I guess it's not natural causes, but it's an accident. So no one else was involved. Let's just say that. There was no kind of foul play suspected. It was an accidental death. Yeah, I've heard the same. Yeah, that he had some brain damage for several years due to an aneurysm, which makes sense. It does. It makes sense. Like, the aneurysm has left some brain damage, which probably, along with alcohol use, some drug use, his health really, really deteriorated. So I say again, you know, a man who was in declining health, was he capable of abducting a 5-year-old girl? Probably not. Probably not. Which is all the more reason to say that Fred Hill, is he blaming a dead man? And why is he? Why is he blaming a dead man? So, I don't know. I'm confused. There's been a few, but like all different reasons. You know, it's not like somebody's out there bumping off everybody involved in Summer's case. And you know, if you let's say you took a tally of how many people have died, let's say within a mile and a half radius of your house over the last 2 years, it probably would be a few. It's just that we're hearing about them. You know. Your first suspect was Fred Hill, really? I know a lot of people have said the same. A lot of people have said the same. But then again, a lot of people initially confused Fred Hill with Frank Light. They thought that Don had gone to see Frank Light. And it wasn't. It was Fred Hill. And people still get them confused. But no, it's only in the last few days that I've gone back and listened to some of the interviews and looking at Fred in a different way now. And it's simply because of all the suspicious things he said. And this is just the latest suspicious thing that he said. For no other reason than that, honestly. So, I don't know.
It goes right up to that flat spot before your driveway, correct?
Yes, it does. I put in that little, Mary's husband used to work at the school in Church Hill. He had a trailer house on the property of the school in Church Hill, the elementary school. Mary and her husband, I can't remember his name. So, what was his name? But yeah, he gave my mom that playground equipment from the school, and I put it in there for my kids.
See, so Don, right, is talking about the bus trail. So the guy, I think his name's Chillbilly, asked him about the dog trail, and Don starts talking about the playground equipment that is behind the bus, right next to the bus trail, not the dog trail. So has Don been getting it wrong all this time? And Don's confusing these different trails. Yeah, Crackin Cases has been in the chat and said that, yeah. He's got to get back to, Don did say in this interview, I haven't played that part. I'm only playing the part where he's talking about the Beech Creekers. But yeah, he did say in this interview before he started talking about the Beech Creekers, he said that he had to return to Tennessee. He's had to go for a drug test, and he has to return to Tennessee. I didn't realize he had to return permanently, though. I didn't realize that until Cam said. I haven't caught up with Crackin Cases stream from yesterday. These things happen in the night because I'm 5 hours ahead of Cam. So I listen to Crackin. I very rarely catch them live. I only listen to them live if they do kind of an early stream. So it'd be like afternoon for them, early evening for me. I catch them live then. Otherwise, I catch up in the morning. But I just happened to click onto this and found that Don had been on Jenkies. This is Jenkies, rumour has it. For those just coming in the chat, this is Don speaking overnight my times. This is brand new on Jenkies Rumour Has It's panel. So I've put the link again in the chat. The link is in the description box. Don comes in towards the end of the stream. He talks about his daughter being unwell, Candice having to stay in Arkansas to look after his daughter, and him having to return to Tennessee because of his probation officer. I thought he was off probation. I did. Oh, wrong one. I thought he was off probation as well, but apparently not. Apparently not. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Yes. Yes, he's got to go back to Tennessee. Who's behind me? Hello, Noodle. Hello, Noodle. Hello, Noodle. He's a good boy. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fall. He's trying to climb on. He's trying to climb on my back. He's gonna fall. Ow! Noodle.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but it's only like, yeah, it's right by the road, pretty much. That flat spot you're talking about. Yeah, it's right there.
And it is right there. It is right there. We'll share this again. It is right there. Hold on. Look. Again, this is Crackin Cases. This is the bus trail. So if we just go back a bit. Okay. Just play it. So you've got the school bus. Oh, it's a bit further back. Here it is. So that's the school bus. And then that's the play equipment that Don's just talked about. And then it's just a few yards from this play equipment to the driveway. And it's a very easy track. It's not steep like the dog trail. So I really wonder, and the fact that Don has mentioned this in a conversation about the dog trail, I wonder whether the dogs actually scented Summer down this trail and she was playing on that play equipment. And that's where she disappeared from. In a second, you'll see the driveway right there. That's the driveway. And then it's just a few yards down to the road, to Ben Hill Road. So it's a great little video that Crackin Cases caught that. Yeah, I always think about the bus. A lot of people have. A lot of people in the early days said, did they check the bus? Did they check inside the bus? And they did. I assume they did. They checked all the vehicles. But behind the bus, where there's that play equipment, that's a brilliant place for little kids to play. And it's still technically on her yard. It's technically not down the hill. And if somebody was watching that property, that's an easy place to take a kid from because it cannot be seen because the bus hides it. The bus hides it. I don't know.
Do you know who a Chad Arnold is?
Yes, I do.
And so, somebody asked me. Said,
yeah, Chad Arnold was married to. No, he didn't die.
I thought he died.
No, Chad Arnold. He's going on to talk about Chad Arnold. It is a very well-worn path. Yes, very well-worn path. I bet the kids play down there all the time. So Chad Arnold. Now, some people are saying that Chad Arnold is Cotton Simpson's cousin. And I can't confirm that at the moment. Now, there was a Charles Arnold, so Chad Arnold, who died in 2014. I'm just going to get my family tree up. I'm not going to put this on screen simply because there's some names on here of people who are alive. And I don't think it's fair. You know, the fact that I'm doing the family tree of everybody on Beech Creek is weird enough. But the fact that I'm, you know, there's some people on this family tree that are still alive. I don't think it's fair, honestly. But anyway, Roy Cotton Simpson, his mother was an Arnold. Like her maiden name was Arnold. She only died a few months ago. And people are saying that Chad Arnold, the guy that Don is talking about now, who's the person who saw Candice on Fred's driveway. I hope you're following all this. Chad is Fred's friend, and he saw Candice on Fred's driveway looking for Summer. And Candice has now confirmed that she saw Chad, so that's confirmed that both sides say that they saw each other. And the speculation is that Chad Arnold is Roy Cotton Simpson's cousin. I can't confirm that. No. But it's possible. Now, Roy Cotton Simpson's mother, whose maiden name was Arnold, she has two brothers, Gary and Charles. And they're both deceased now. They're both deceased now. But there's another Chad Arnold who is still alive. All right, so this is where the confusion is coming from. The Charles Chad Arnold who died, who is Roy Cotton Simpson's mother's brother, so Roy Cotton Simpson's uncle, did die. He's been dead a few years. But there's another Chad Arnold who fits into this family tree somewhere. I just can't fit him in absolutely as being Roy Cotton Simpson's cousin. But anyway, it's that Chad Arnold who's still alive that Don is talking about in this interview.
Not that I'm aware of, anyway. But Chad Arnold was at Fred Hill's house when Candice was looking for Summer. She drove back in a holler to Fred Hill's house, and Chad Arnold was hanging out back there. I've been to Chad Arnold's house before.
And the reason why it's just gone weird for a few seconds is I was out walking, listening to it, and screen recording it at the same time. So my screen was like going a bit dodgy as I was walking. Now, Fred said that Chad Arnold saw Candice after Fred had left to go and haul off his scrap metal. And Fred left about 4:30. So we've always assumed that Chad Arnold saw Candice at 4:30, but that's not necessarily true. That's just when Fred left, right at the time that Summer was disappearing. How convenient. But it could be that Chad Arnold saw Candice later, because Candice did go down the holler looking for Summer, and that was about 6-ish. Geordie Sue saw her leaving at 6:09. Geordie Sue made a confession, at the very least acknowledged knowing about drugging kids, yet she's been cleared. Obviously, someone else needs to take over the investigation. Yeah, that thing that Geordie Sue said about them drugging kids. Yeah, she's tried to walk it back a little bit, but yeah, she did say it. But she said it about Andy. She said it because she was angry with Andy. How much of it is true is another matter. I don't think she's been cleared. I don't think anybody's been cleared, honestly. I don't.
And he had all kinds of people hanging out in his
shed.
Is he what?
Was he like a meth head like Fred Hill?
Yes. Chad Arnold loves his meth. Yes, he does. I went to visit him. Chad Arnold trains horses and stuff. He's really good at that. But he loves his methamphetamines.
That's
Is he a offender or anything? Is he on the registry?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I did see quite a few around there whenever I looked. I pulled it up, you know.
I went to his wife's house and visited with Chad Arnold a few times for various reasons, trying to get truck parts or whatever. And yeah, he's definitely showed me some big pieces of yeah, he's definitely into that stuff.
Did Fred Hill act like he had something like schizophrenia or something?
Yeah, he has meth-induced schizophrenia.
I was going to say, I've heard that. I have too. Yeah. It's almost like psychosis from meth. It causes psychosis.
Exactly.
If somebody's already predisposed to getting it, it actually pushes it along. Some people can have it their whole life and not get the side effects from it, but the drugs can push it to it.
That is true. That is true. We call it drug-induced psychosis, so we don't specify the type of drug. We just say there are certain drugs that can induce a schizophrenia-like reaction, sends some people into psychosis in heavy users. Some people seem to be predisposed to it. Some people seem to be able to take drugs every day of their life and have no psychotic effects whatsoever. So there's a genetic component to it. But yeah, maybe Fred does have some form of drug-induced psychosis. I don't know. Maybe that's why he comes up with these wild stories. I don't know. Why did JSB admit to the dog sitting on her? I don't think she literally said that. She was out on Ben Hill Road when the dogs were there, and she shouldn't have been. She was there interfering, right? She shouldn't have been there. And maybe that's one of the reasons why the dog got confused, because she went out taking her dog for a walk when the search dogs were there. And she said the dog stopped at her feet. Well, the dog stopped at her feet because she was right there. And the dog was following a track. So it's not that the dog led people to Geordie Sue. It's just that Geordie Sue went down on Ben Hill Road interfering. So, and she shouldn't have been. If I would have been the dog handler, I would have probably punched her in the mouth or something. At least told her to get lost, which is probably what happened. They probably did tell her to get lost. There was a comment about Fred Hill, which was absolutely true. Hold on a minute. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. Yeah, I should have given it to the Wells, yeah. There was a comment about what Fred said. That Fred was hauling off scrap metal. This is the thing that Don is saying. But Don told Ziggy that he went to the store. So what did you do, Fred? Did you haul off scrap metal, or did you go to the store? Or did you haul off scrap metal and then go to the store? So why were you gone for 3 hours, just in that time that Summer was gone missing? Interesting timing. The Beech Tweakers. Oh dear. But Don is spilling all the tea here, and in a very coherent way. Like, Don is listenable when he's like this. I just can't listen to him when he's N-wording all the time. But this was a really interesting conversation. Wondering if the scrapyard was ever checked out. I don't know, and I really would like to know. Like, we call them scrappies around here, but there's a scrappy just near one of my walks. I walk by the scrappy quite often, and there's all sorts in there. Like, it goes back quite a way. And, you know, if somebody hauled off a scrap car and it ended up sitting in that scrapyard and then getting squashed or whatever they do with them, I don't know. I don't know whether that scrapyard there, wherever Fred goes to, was ever checked. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's a terrifying thought, though.
That's
yeah,
right.
I've seen a difference in people, because some people don't act the same on that stuff. You know, you can see some people now, like, they completely lost their daggone mind. Like, I mean, you know, like.
Do you think Chad Cotton and Fred took Summer? Somebody just asked me that question.
I have no clue. But it's just like Dudley. That weekend, I guess he went and done dope all weekend. He showed up Monday. I guess I fired him Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember. I can't deal with that stuff. He said I ripped him off for money and everything else. He's lying.
Oh yeah, well, he lied too in that interview.
Yes,
He tried to act like he was such a good, upstanding guy.
And,
you know?
and we've seen that, you know, everybody that has been mentioned has went down for
Yep.
some
Yes, sir.
crazy shit.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
sorry
And I'm
about
not.
everybody.
And I'm not claiming I'm an angel, because I'm not.
None of
You're definitely not, Don. think the scrapyard is in Knoxville. And Knoxville's an hour away, though. Knoxville's an hour away. Hold on. Let me look up the closest scrapyard to Ben Hill Road. Not scrapyards near me. No, Google. Scrapyard, Rogersville. Rogersville, Tennessee. Do you know there's a Rogersville in Alabama? Okay. All right. Hold on. All right. I've got too many tabs open now. So we've got Holston Salvage, Austin Mill Salvage, I need a location that I recognize. All right, okay, so there's Rogersville. So there's a few. All right, so Ben Hill's around here somewhere. So there's 4. So Rogersville's about, I don't know, 20 miles, something like that. So these look like the closest ones. Now maybe there's one over in Kingsport. Let's have a look. Bobby's Used Auto Parts. It's quite a lot. There. Smith Garbage Service. Now that would be closer. So we don't know, but there's quite a few. So I don't know, but no, they wouldn't have to go. He wouldn't have to go to Knoxville. He wouldn't have to go to Knoxville. Knoxville's at least an hour away, or even longer. Well, it's probably too late now. Probably too late now. Because the scrap gets basically crushed. They crush it all down. Because some people have said to me, what is that? Like, can hear noises sometimes. If I walk by the scrappy where you kind of can't see it because I'm in the field, but the scrappy's just right there by the other side of the fence. And like the noise of like the cranes and stuff that they're using and the machines that they're using, sometimes on the camera when I'm filming, sounds like something roaring. And it's not, it's the scrapyard, the noises that come from the scrapyard. So it's too late now. It's a terrifying thought, though. I really hope that didn't happen. Really hope that didn't happen. Anyway, let's get back to this.
No, I'm not.
No, I mean, nobody's saying that you are. I mean,
no, I just want to make that clear with y'all. I'm no angel. I'm trying. I'm trying, but it's so hard.
Trust me, we all fall short. I showed my ass yesterday. I ain't even gonna lie. I did. I mean, I'm in the middle of grief, and I'm in the anger stage right now. My poor husband, he was like, I'm going to the room.
How do you feel about Andy and Jody Sue? How do you feel about Andy?
I don't think Andy had anything to do with anything, but I will say that Jody Sue is the biggest nutcase I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, why didn't she like y'all living there? Why didn't she want people to sell the property?
We've done everything we could to help Jody Sue. Even my private investigators went up and moved all her crap for her. Drove up that steep ass hill with his 4-wheel drive and moved all his stuff out of there. She tried to give us some a cigarette machine and some other stuff, and we was like, no, that's not right. That's your husband's probably or whatever. We don't want it. And she was just trying to be mean to Andy or whatever way. But our private investigators moved her crap for her out of the kindness of their hearts. Candace went up there and helped her out of the kindness of her heart. and everything else. And we barely know her, and why she turned on us and said all this crazy stuff is beyond us. Other than trying to start her own YouTube channel or whatever, I don't, you know.
Well, I think some of what Jody Sue said is truthful, and some of what she said is to keep the story going, is to keep attention on her. That's my opinion. That's what I think Jody Sue's doing. What would be Fred's motive, though? That's the thing. I don't know. Because as far as I know, Fred doesn't have sexual proclivity to small children. There's certainly nothing in his record that would suggest that. However, most people who sexually offend against both adults or children are not on a register because they've never been caught. But I don't know. I can't put that on Fred. I have no idea what his motive would be. But the same with Cotton Simpson. What would his motive be? And Fred is naming him. So what would his motive be? Because I'm not going to put on them that they're sex offenders when I've got no evidence that they are. So the same could be said for any of these people. What's the motive? You know, you've got to really start with why. Why would they take summer? Why would that person take summer? We always start with the why. And this is one of the things that's so confusing. What would the motive be for any of these people? Unless you're talking about somebody like Don Sherfy Jr., who does have the motive, who does have the proclivity for small children. He talks about Don Sherfy just briefly in a second.
Back at her husband and just just the side effect of it.
All these haters just come out the woodwork like cockroaches. It's crazy.
How about that other guy? What was his name? That he's a real bad dude. The one that got in trouble
Don Sherfy.
Yeah, that Sherfy go because wasn't he friends with Brandon Lawson too?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know them people. All I know is Don Sherfy Sr. got with my stepdad's sister and has something going with her that I have.
No, Don. Don Sherfy Sr. did not have a thing going with Don's stepdad's sister. Don's stepdad's sister, Mary, who died in 2022, was an old lady. Don Sherfy Sr. wasn't dating Mary. He was dating Mary's daughter, Christy. So, just before any rumours start about Don Sherfy Sr. dating a woman who's like old enough to be his mother, he wasn't. He's dating her daughter. And then Don Sherfy Jr. is Don Sherfy Sr.'s son. And for those of you who don't know, Don Sherfy Jr. is in jail now. But when Summer went missing, he had been recently arrested the month before for having over 1,000 images of child pornography that he was distributing. And he's since gone to jail and got 6 years. But at the time Summer disappeared, he'd recently been arrested and was out on bond. What we need to know is whether he was wearing an ankle tag as a condition of his bond. Because he was not interviewed. Whether he's been interviewed since, I don't know. But he was not interviewed as part of the investigation. Now, he has motive because he has proclivity for small children. Or children, at least. And his, you could call him his stepmother, even though they're not married. His step-grandmother, her land is right there, very close to the wells. And I've always thought Don Sherfy Jr. is a suspect in my eyes. Whether he's a suspect in law enforcement's eyes or whether they've ruled him out, I don't know. We don't know. But he has motive. But these other people, Fred Hill, Cotton Simpson, Chad Arnold, they don't seem to have a motive. I don't know what the motive would be. Unless they're a secret sex offender who's just never been caught. But I can't put that on them because I don't have any evidence of that. I'm not going to point the finger and say, you're a pedo, when I've got no evidence of it. I can point the finger at Don Sherfy Jr. because I know darn well he is a pedo and he's in jail for it. I've got a crowd here. I have indeed. Nearly 1,300 people. I thought it would be a really quiet stream because it's too early for most of you guys who watch my channel. But no. How many likes have I got? I can't tell on StreamYard. If I get 1,000 likes, I'll give some memberships away. But I can't tell on StreamYard, and I've still not got my other computer fixed. And let me look on YouTube. Uh, 615 likes, and we've got nearly 1,300 in the chat. So pop a like on, and if I get 1,000 likes by the end of this stream, I'll give some memberships away. How about that? How about that? Let's do that. Okay, let's carry on.
Not aware of whatsoever, and why he turned on us, or why Mary, my stepdad's sister Mary, turned on us, I have no clue. I know my mother, when she was alive, told Mary that she was going to get the property, the property that we have now, and my mother told me that, you know, that Mary and her husband Cecil and all them, you know, worked for her hourly, and she led them along, and they thought they was going to get the property, and they was really just kind of, my mom said they were basically con artists, and she turned the property over to me, and that really pissed them off.
And he has told that story before. We do know that there's bad blood, bad feeling between Mary Gold and the Wells. So is that a motive for stealing a child? No, not on its own. But could it be a motive for holding things back that you know to hamper the investigation? Yeah, bad blood is. Bad blood is enough. Bad blood is enough for that. That's why I've always looked at Don Sherfy Jr. Because Don Sherfy Sr. doesn't like the Wells. Mary Gold doesn't like the Wells. There's been bad blood between those two families for many years. And he's got the motive. However, can't prove it. Law enforcement didn't look at him. So I don't know. Might not have even been in the area that day. We don't know.
But I don't know the whole story. That's between my mother and them. And my mother's deceased now.
Yeah.
So I don't know the full story.
When people pass away, all kind of stuff goes on like that in families.
Exactly. And, you know, my mother had a court battle with the Hills, which would have been Jody Sue's or Andy's kin. They had a court battle over a piece of property across the street over there, right across from their house. And then the people bought that property in the back and just took over the property that they had to dispute over, and they couldn't do nothing about it.
Now, this is the first time hearing about this, that Don's mother had a dispute with the Hills. Now, this is obviously many years ago because Don's mother's been dead since 2011. She died in 2011. So this is many years ago. So the property at the back, I think, is 207. And that's Fred Hill's grandma, I want to say. So Fred Hill and Andy Bernard are cousins, right? So when he says this is Andy's family, it's also Fred Hill's family. That Ben Hill, who the road is named after, is Fred Hill's granddad. And he used to live, when he was alive, he lived in that large expanse of property at the back. That was Ben Hill's house. And then Ben Hill is Andy's great-granddad. So Fred and Andy are first cousins once removed. They share the common ancestor of Ben Hill. But I didn't know that there was a dispute between the Hills and Karen, Don's mother, regarding the property at the back. Now, the people who took over that property at the back are the Redmonds. Now, I don't know whether Fred's family still own 207. I don't know. I could look. I could go and look on the property records. But anyway, but it's the Redmonds that own a lot of that land right at the back that goes up into the mountain. Some of it was for sale very recently. If I could have afforded it, I'd have bought it just out of spite, just to wind Geordie Sue up. There was about 100 acres for sale. If I could have afforded it, I would have bought it. So Geordie Sue would have, you know, because she complains about out of staters buying land. How would she feel about someone out of the country who's not American buying land in Beech Creek? That would have been hilarious. But I'm afraid I don't have the money for that. But it would have been hilarious. But I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a dispute between Don's mother and the Hills.
Now, a minute ago, Don, you mentioned Belleton.
Yeah.
The Bernard fella.
Yeah.
Do you know if he's any kin to any of the Bernards in the Belleton area?
I have no clue, brother. Andy Bernard seemed to be pretty up and up to me. We bought weed from him from time to time. He'd come up and says, "Man, I got some good weed, whatever," and we'd buy weed from him from time to time. And Andy Bernard has always been pretty straight up with this and has never really caused us any problems or anything. So I really can't say anything bad about Andy at all because he's never done us wrong. But
that's interesting. Interesting. Don would say that he's never done them wrong. You know, the way that Geordie Sue talks about Andy is that he's a total monster, and maybe he was to Geordie Sue, but that's not Don's experience. And the TBI did confirm that Andy was at work. I've always side-eyed Andy. I've side-eyed everybody, to be honest. But the TBI did confirm that Andy was at work. Really? Don was on Prayer Garden and going at it last night. Don was drunk. Really? He doesn't seem drunk on this panel. He's a bit angry, but he's not abusive. You know, when he's drunk, he's N-word this and N-word that and N-word the other. That's exactly what I would have done. And I've put no trespassing signs all over it. Like, campers welcome, except Geordie Sue Brown. There was about 100 acres for sale, probably more. Right at the back there. And, you know, it was cheap. Considering how expensive land is in the UK, it was cheap. But it's still way more than I could afford. Way more than I could afford.
Wife.
There's more problem.
Yeah, yeah. But Andy's never done us wrong. I just hope and pray for his kids, you know, that they turn out okay and everything. But Geordie Sue Brown, she's lied on us continually.
Yeah, how old's her boy? How old's her oldest son?
Don, can I ask you a question? Did they rule her out as a suspect?
They haven't ruled anybody out as a suspect. That's a straight lie right there. I mean, if she was at the bottom of the hill, when someone come up missing like she claims, why would they rule her out as a suspect?
And didn't Andy have an alibi for about being 45 minutes away?
Yes,
an hour away?
Yes,
and she
ma'am.
said that she was waiting on Andy to get home, but she and planning her wildfire.
Well, Andy, TBI told me that Andy was at work. He's got definitely a rock solid alibi at the time of Summer's disappearance.
Yeah.
So why would she say that? You know?
Now, to be fair to Geordie Sue, she's also said she's always maintained that Andy was at work on camera. She's always maintained that. Now, if we're going to believe Don, and there's no reason not to, that he's never thrown Andy under the bus. Don has blamed this person, that person, the other person, but he's never blamed Andy. And Geordie Sue and Don are now have both said that Andy does have an alibi, that he was on camera at work. So does Andy know anything? I don't know. But Andy couldn't have taken Summer because he was on camera at work. So unless he was able to rig the cameras to make it look like he was at work when he wasn't, then we can rule out Andy. We can rule out Andy, at least, of being the person who took Summer. I feel like everyone on that holler is nuts, and they are. Does anyone know what time he went to work? Who, Andy? I don't know what time he went to work, but if he was at work that afternoon that Summer disappeared, then they can rule him out. Yeah. Anybody who was on camera can be ruled out. He doesn't. I know where that's come from. The Masons in Kingsport. There's a guy on the Kingsport Freemasons Facebook page who looks a little bit like Andy. He does. I admit he does look a little bit like Andy, but their names are on there. And if people had not just screenshot that picture and had actually looked at the names that are in the comments, they'd have known that that's not Andy. It's not. It's all the inbreeding. They're not actually closely inbred. To be honest, they're not very closely inbred. There was some like second cousins marrying, but they're all related, though. They're all related.
He was waiting on Andy.
Well, that may be, but Andy did
But
show
Andy had
up
an alibi
later
to be
on.
about 45 minutes an hour away.
Yeah, he was at
And then
work.
she said she was planting her wildflowers.
I don't know about his dad. I can't confirm whether his dad is a Mason or not. I can't confirm that. No, because he got back late. So he only knows what he's been told about that day because he was at work. So that's probably why he doesn't remember, because he wasn't there. So he's only going off what people have told him. They totally would. They totally would. Dear me.
Definitely,
definitely
Jody Sue has no alibis, but her husband Andy definitely does. He was at work at the time of Summer's disappearance.
Wow.
CBI confirmed that with me, told me that because I was concerned, and I went to them with that, and I was like, "What about Andy?" And they told me, "Well, he was at work. He has a rock solid alibi." And I was like, "Okay, yes, sir." And but definitely Jody Sue does not. She's a liar. She's the biggest liar I've ever seen in my life.
As Jody Sue responded to this, I dread to think if Jody. Oh dear. Dear. Well, I don't know. You think he's lying? Who, Don? He could well be, but well, this is why I was laughing at this morning when I was listening to it in the field, and I was just cackling to myself. Some of it's funny, but it's tragic. It's tragic that everybody's calling everyone else a liar. Where's the truth here? The truth lies somewhere in the middle of all of this. But everyone's lying. But Don has consistently maintained the issues he believes are related to Summer's disappearance is to do with the meth people coming in, visiting Fred Hill. He's always maintained that. Now, him calling Jody Sue a liar, well, what exactly has she lied about? This is a thing that I'd like to know, what specifically he thinks she's lied about? And can we then explore those things that he says she's lied about? Because he doesn't know either, right? If Jodie Sue's lying about the scream or lying about the time she saw Candice, well, how does Don know? Because he was at work. So how does he know? Because Candice has confirmed she saw Jodie Sue when she was out looking for Summer. So what has Jodie Sue lied about? Now, there might be things since that she's lied about, absolutely. But what I'm interested in is, did she lie about where she was that day? Did she lie about the timings that she's given us all? And if Don can prove that she lied about those timings, then I've got a big problem. I've got a big problem with Jodie Sue. But I don't know specifically what Don's talking about. So I can't say that Don says Jodie Sue's lying and I believe Don. I don't know. We're nearly at the end now, guys.
And she said out of her own mouth, I think I heard her say she didn't even like kids that much.
I have somebody in the chat wants to know, Don, said, what kind of party did you have before Summer went missing and who was there?
What kind of party?
I've never heard of that yet.
That's kind of that's really a rude question, you know. I mean, we didn't really have parties or whatever, but that's really rude, and disrespectful for whoever said that. The only kind of
I don't think that's disrespectful. Like, did you have a party? I don't think that's really disrespectful. I don't know, but Don puts his halo on here and says, we didn't have parties. We only ever had parties with our children. So I don't know whether I believe that or not, but let's listen.
Parties we had is like, I'd go buy fireworks with my kids, and me and the wife might drink a beer. You know what?
Yeah.
If that's illegal.
If you got invited to a party at Don's house, you better have your hiking boots on to walk up that driveway.
Right. But
you're just going to go hang out at the party.
But we would usually hang out with our kids and maybe like fireworks, and we might even light a bonfire for our kids, and we'd sit there and just have a good time with our kids. But as far as a party, I mean,
well,
I think they meant it because they just want to know if anybody was there as a sus, like a friend party.
No, we didn't really have friends over there. But people might show up, like, you know, there was a few people that might show up begging for money. There's a few people, I won't mention them by name, and I won't put them out there like that. But we had a few people that might show up that was begging for money so that they could go get their pills or whatever they wanted. I recognized that, and I understood that. But Candace's mother or whatever didn't quite understand that. But I understood that.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm really believing this. I mean, it wouldn't be wrong for them to have people over to have a beer with. Really, would it? I mean, nothing wrong in that in itself. That's a beer. Drink a beer. Yeah, drink a bottle of R&R, or maybe 2 bottles of R&R. That's true. That is true. Very true. So Don could be telling the truth. That at Ben Hill, all Don ever did was get fireworks for his kids and light a bonfire. And he didn't really associate, you know, in a party-like way. So, yeah, that could be true because he used to go to Knoxville, didn't he, to do his partying for his cocaine binges. So, I don't know. Helicopter dad. Friends around drinking, that's a party. Yeah. But he's saying people only ever came up there if they wanted to borrow some money. And he understood it. And he gave them $10 or $20 to go buy some pills. I don't know. I don't know.
But usually they might loan them $10 or $20 and they'd go their way. I won't mention them by name, you know, or anything. But as far as a party, no.
I think it was pretty much a question just to see if anybody who was up there suspect.
More of a gathering, not really a party.
Yeah. The only gatherings. Yeah, we had gatherings with our kids, you know, because we loved them, and we bought I buy fireworks all the time, and like I said, me and Candace ain't perfect. We might have a drink or 2 or 3. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, and but that's pretty much
3 bottles of R&R.
His daughter's birthday party.
I don't know about that. She was up there for a while, you know, Marlena's daughter, but Marlena, I don't want to say nothing bad about her either. I've already said all I've had to say about her. Journey, you're talking about Journey.
I don't like the way that he's named Marlena's daughter, but her name is out there now. So anyway, she was Summer's friend, that little girl who used to stay there sometimes. She was Marlena's daughter. She was Summer's friend. And there are pictures of them out there. I've never shown them on my channel because I don't want to put a picture of someone else's kid on my channel, even covering her face. I don't want to. But Marlena Crawford, she's spoken out, and I can't say that I believe very much of what she said, honestly, quite frankly. She's a relative of Fred Hill. I think she's a second or third cousin of Fred Hill, something like that. But yeah, Candice was friends with Marlena, and Summer was friends with Marlena's daughter, and she did used to go and stay there.
Yeah, Marlena's daughter's name is Journey. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, man, we've already been through that.
Yeah.
These people go out and steal and sell whatever they steal for drug money to get high. I mean, that's what they do. We try to keep them away from our house and stuff, but on the other end of the spectrum, you know, like Marlena, we tried to help her out, and until we realized that she just wanted money for drugs, you know, and she dumped her daughter off at her house, and you know, it's a sad situation.
Yeah, that's true.
It is when you try to help people and then you find out they do you bad.
Exactly. But about 2 weeks before Summer came missing, I told Candice.
Oh, that was a granddaughter of somebody that Candice befriended after Summer went missing. That's who that was. Who's not related to Fred? I don't know. Everybody's related around there, you know, some way, shape, or form. They're all related some way, shape, or form. I'd say probably 3/4 of people who currently live on Beech Creek are related. And the ones that are not are people who've bought property in more recent years. You know, the ones that Jodie Sue hates, who've come in stealing her land and all that stuff. And those people are newcomers, they're not related. But in the general scheme of things, all these people that we talk about, the Beech Creekers, they are all related. Sometimes only distantly, but they are related. But it's the same around my area. I mean, you know, this village and the village where my nan was born, you know, you go back a couple of generations and there's a lot of relatedness, like second, third, fourth cousins. Like my nan's related to a bunch of people. I didn't know until I started doing my own family tree that my friend who was my best friend throughout childhood were actually fifth cousins, and I never knew that we were related. And I don't know, I've got second cousins, third cousins all around this area, and I don't know that they're related. It's just the way it was, because this was, you know, it was a close-knit mining community, and people, you know, spent their whole lives in one area, and many generations grew up in the same area. And it's only when you start digging into the family trees that you realize that you've got a common ancestor, like way back, and you got no idea, you don't know. Some of the kids who were in my class at school are related to me. Right, and I didn't know I was related to them. So yeah, I get it. I understand it. I do understand it. It's different now because we've had like a lot of new people. Like the village that I live in is huge now. You know, because there's all these kind of new estates that have built up and new people have come in. So it's not the same now. But I do understand the kind of the Beech Creek closeness, that all the kind of old people who lived in this area, who have now dead, would have known who was related to who and who's second cousins to who, and all that public knowledge has been lost. All that local knowledge has been lost because the old people have died. And that's what Jodie Sue's scared of, I think. She's scared of change. So, blood runs deep. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It does. We still say that about some families around here. That, you know, if you cut one of them, 10 of them bleed. You get into trouble with one of them, one of their kin is going to come after you. It's going to come after you, and he's going to try and do you in. We do say that around here still. Just certain families. So, yeah, I get it. I do get it. I understand it.
You need to take Journey to her grandparents' house or her cousin's house and get her. We ain't doing this, you know, because Marlena would just dump her off at our house and just leave her there and go out and party or whatever she was doing, and I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2 weeks before someone comes missing, Candace took Journey to her grandparents' house and put her in safe hands. And then about
sounds like that's where she needed to be, maybe right then.
Right, yeah, because Marlena was just dumping her off at her house and just leaving her. We wouldn't even see Marlena. She didn't give a damn, to be honest.
I have heard that Marlena's had her daughter taken off her. I don't know whether that's true or not, so don't quote me on it. That's just something that I've heard. It might just be a rumor. It might not be true. But yeah, Marlena Crawford she's the daughter of Ricky Crawford, who died last year. And Ricky Crawford is somebody that Fred has talked about. That Don went and told him some stuff about Summer. But we don't know whether that's true or not because it comes from Fred Hill. And Ricky Crawford Sr. has since died. And then Marlena's brother, Ricky Crawford Jr., he's in jail. He's a bad un. He's in jail for drugs and stuff. So yeah, they're kin of Fred Hill as well.
Marlena was the type of person, if you was friends with her, she'd come over to your house, and if you wasn't home, she'd steal everything off your porch and everything else and go sell it for drugs and buy drugs and everything else. She was doing it to her own sister. She was doing it to us and other people that we know of.
I can't confirm that. I can't confirm that's true or not at all. But I also can't deny that happened either.
Yeah, people get stuff. They'll take anything to get it.
That's right. And that's what she was doing.
Yep.
I've seen them steal people's copper pipes out from under their house.
You know, Journey was remember that day. Journey could have got gone too.
Exactly. Exactly. They could. Then, like other people said before, Journey could have been the target. We don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
No, because
now that was a story that went round recently. That Summer wasn't the actual target to this abduction. That it was actually Marlena's daughter. That was the target. But again, that was just a story that went round. That we can't confirm that. And if Marlena's daughter had been the target and they took Summer by accident, well, why didn't they come back for Marlena's daughter? Like at a later time, why didn't they come back for her and take the actual kid that they meant to target? And why would they be targeting a child in the first place for a relatively small amount of drugs? So I don't think that story really pans out, but it did come out fairly recently. Yeah, how would you know exactly? How would you know who the target was? Exactly. You'd have to know who your suspect was before you know that they'd actually got the wrong person. So I don't really take much stock in that. Honestly,
her actual family was been fighting for her for a long time, and I don't know.
I don't believe anything PG has to say, CHORLEY. PG.
All right, that's it. They go on now to talk about Prayer Garden, so I stopped recording at that point. So, yeah. So what do you make to it all? I thought that was a good conversation. Don was coherent. I thought we learned some things from that. Whether there's any truth in what Don's saying, I don't know. But I can absolutely say that Don has never wavered in his opinion on the meth heads that come into Ben Hill because they're going to see Fred, going to buy stuff off Fred, and we now know that's true. We now know that Fred was the local meth dealer. We now know that Fred was the one who was attracting all of this riffraff to Ben Hill. And why it took the cops so long to arrest Fred is a big question. Why arrest him now? Thank you, CSI. Thank you so much. The 199 super sticker. I'll have to look on YouTube to see what that looks like. Hey, it's a little fox. StreamYard doesn't show me what it is. It just tells me I've got a super sticker. Soberdon is a wonderful thing. He's listenable, and he says some stuff that you can really consider. You can really think, well, all right, that's sensible. That could be true. And he has never wavered. He's never wavered. And I don't know whether Don knows more, whether Don has suspects that, you know, he's blamed this person, that person, the other person, whether he knows deep down who could have taken Summer. I don't know. Don wasn't sober on PG. I'm going to go and listen to that. Once I get off this live, I'm going to go and listen to that. I've got a bunch of stuff to listen to that's gone on overnight, my time. I didn't even go to bed early either. It was gone midnight when I went to bed, but no one was live when I went to bed. And then Crackin Cases were live overnight, so I need to go and watch that. This is something that I just caught this morning. We've got over 150 likes to go. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. If we get to 1,000 likes, I give 20 memberships. That's my rule. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes we get to 1,000 likes and I don't look and I don't realise. So I don't think we're going to quite make it. I've been on here now for nearly 3 hours. So I'm going to go now. But it's definitely been thought-provoking. Definitely. And yeah. Oh, okay. He was sober, just PG wouldn't let him get a word in. Oh, no. He wasn't N-wording and stuff, though, was he? Not sure we'll ever find the truth. I don't know. I don't know. I thought that for a long time. You know, we got to the year mark and I just started to really lose faith and lose hope. And I thought, we're never going to know. We're never going to know. And then Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, you know, at the 2-year mark, saying that he expects to have an update in the near future, that really gave me hope. And then, we've had these arrests and I've got a renewed confidence that maybe law enforcement are working on stuff that we have no idea about. I mean, look at the Harmony Montgomery case. Look how much the police had when they finally arrested Adam. Look how much the police had on him. And they've never found Harmony's body, but they've just got a bunch of evidence that's only recently been released. But just we've had these arrests around Beech Creek, and I'm wondering whether the cops are squeezing people. I don't know. Or maybe it's just wishful thinking. Don't think his update was the age progression. No, no, because Hawkins County Sheriff's Office had nothing to do with that. That was done through the National Centre for Abused and Exploited Children. It wasn't, no, that wasn't to do with it. No. He said he would have an update or expected to have an update in the near future. Now, of course, he could have been just talking out of his arse and has no intentions of ever updating at all. I don't know, but it just gave me hope. And if that's wishful thinking, then I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Look at the Delphi case. Look how long it took to arrest someone in the Delphi case. You know, that Abby and Libby were murdered in 2017. It took 5 years to make an arrest. Because cops had overlooked an obvious person, and it was only when somebody went back and looked at the very early interviews that they realised that they'd made a mistake. Thank you. But still, it did take 5 years. Thank you so much, Gwendolyn. It's very kind of you. Got another one coming as well. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you for the $4.99. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go. So we've had 894. 894. All right, I'm going to gift. I'm not gifting 20 because we've not got close enough to the 1,000. But what I will do is I'll gift 10. I'm going to give 10 memberships before I go. All right. So let me just put myself back on the screen so there's no way that you're going to see my credit card. I'm always nervous when I do this. All right, membership gifting. Right, I'm going to give 10 memberships. Now, let me just tell you before this goes through, I can't decide who gets it. All right, I can't decide who gets it. YouTube decides who gets it. All right. And it's based on, I don't know, interaction with the channel. I don't know. And I've been gifted a couple of times. And it's great. I think it's a nice little feature that YouTube has. I was gifted on Crackin Cases this week. So thank you, whoever did that. And I've also been gifted on Sleuth Mom's channel. So it's very kind when people do it. Thank you, Shelley Roo, for the $7.99 Australian dollars. That's very kind of you. So I'm going to give 10 memberships right now. So those of you who get them, it's going through. It's taking its time. There we go. I think it's done it. Yay, there we are. All right. So the people who've got them, let me just read them off. I can't see. Oh, there we go. It's coming through now. All right. So Mums and More, Journey Takes a Trip, Jean, I can't see, Tweety Lynn, Melissa, Michelle, who else? Tamara, Sharon, Rin, and CSI. Welcome, welcome. So what that gives you, courtesy of me, I've bought you a membership for 1 month, after which time the membership just disappears. So there's some members-only videos, some members' lives that you can watch if you've not seen them. So, yeah, enjoy that for a month. And then it will just disappear. YouTube doesn't charge you or anything like that unless you ask YouTube to. If you want to carry on with your membership, you can do. But YouTube just, you know, there's nothing strange about it. There's nothing horrible about it. Your membership will just disappear. It just gives you a courtesy of me for 1 month. All right, guys. Congratulations to all those people who got the memberships. All right, I'm going to go now. Thank you for being respectful. Thank you for keeping me company for the last 3 hours. Hope you found it interesting. It's certainly given me some things to think about. And hopefully we get some real answers about Summer's case soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you, as always, to the mods. Thank you for the donations. Welcome to the new members. And I'll see you all very soon. I'm going hoarse. I'm nearly hoarse because I've been talking nonstop for 3 hours. All right, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.